Our line panelists watched the interview with the governor, which, by the way, we had to edit for time. You can watch the entire conversation online at our websites. Now, lawmakers aren't going to be short on things to do, certainly. We want to know how realistic her expectations are. Here to answer that question, we're joined by Lang regular and UNM law professor Serge Martinez. We welcome longtime friend of the show, Martha Burke, political psychologist and author of the book, Your Voice, Your Vote. Crystal Ciarza is here. She's back at our table. She's the president and owner of Ciarza Social Digital. And rounding out the table is another line regular, Tom Garrity, principal of the Garrity Group PR. Thank you all for being here. Now, Martha, how do you see Michelle Lujan Grisham's chances of convincing lawmakers to pass meaningful legislation? This is a big list we're going to get into. How does she get into this situation?
Well, she's very ambitious. She's very good at many things she does. Some of the things, though, what particularly struck my eye or ear was the College for All. That's in the national debate, as we know, on the national stage. Can we afford it and so forth? But the unanswered question to me in New Mexico, because we're definitely a two-tiered economy here. We have some of the poorest people in the nation. Our kids are 49th, I think, in child well-being, and we have some very rich people, as I've said, that could actually buy the college. So does that mean everyone, or does it mean those who need it most? Is there going to be a cutoff and so forth? I don't think it's got a chance of passing this session, but I think it's good to bring it up.
Sure, absolutely. Let's talk in the overall, Tom, I want to turn to you on this one, the Early Childhood Trust Fund. That idea has been sort of floated out there for a few years, but it looks like it's reality now. And the numbers are pretty daunting. I mean, you're talking, her plan is to have $320 million to work with over time. She's looking long game here to have about $285 to work with. Plausible, realistic. Is this the best way to go? John Arthur Smith is on board.
Well, yeah, and that was really that's the deal maker right there.
That's right.
As, with Senator Smith being an advocate for this, for that particular bill, it'll be interesting to see what is put in there and what is taken out before it actually makes it up to the fourth floor. But I think that it's a great solution. It provides Senator Smith a chance to protect the permanent land grant funds. Yet provides an opportunity when we have, $800 million of new monies coming in, gives a chance to redirect those into something that's near and dear to the governor's heart.
Right. Serge, she's talking K through college. It's not just a little sweet spot. She's talking, this money's going to go a lot of different places. How did you hear it as an educator? How did you hear that plan?
No, I think it's fantastic to hear a focus on education, because we know that investments in education can pay off significantly, not just financially, but socially, more holistically. I think it's easy when we hear this to think, oh, the solution to education is to, give people more schooling, more teachers. I love it. But it's also important to see this doesn't happen in a vacuum. That, for example, housing instability means it's hard for you to go to school. It's hard for you to keep, keep learning and achieve the things we want folks to achieve. So if I can just keep going to that point, right? If you're from a low-income family that's constantly being evicted or having to relocate, then all this money that's going into your school or your teachers is not going to be not going to benefit you the way it would if we look at it as well as seeing education as not just a schools thing, right? I think it's a great place to start, but it's really important to understand that to support education requires giving folks the ability to take advantage of that education as well.
Crystal, she was, meaning the governor, was very strong with Matt about the idea that this is all part of a bigger picture, of course, economic development, health and well-being.
She used the term two pillars a lot.
Exactly right. Touch on that if you would.
So it's, I'm really appreciative of, it's night and day compared to where we were 3 to 4 years ago in terms of, economy is one pillar and education is another pillar. And I always look at, something she said particularly that was really interesting was the bill has to make sure that there's bipartisan support, and we can't get enough. We have to make sure we get enough votes. And sometimes what we don't see, unless you're actually in the roundhouse on a regular basis, is the chess game that all of our legislators are playing. And so I'll move to cannabis as a perfect example. And I would have to disagree with you with the word ambitious. Like, never. She's a pretty strong-willed woman, and her ambition can actually translate into a good strategy.
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
So a good strategy to actually get it passed specifically, or as an example, with cannabis, right? The cannabis industry, we'll see if whether or not it actually gets out of a committee, because the committee is really where it could be signed out. It depends on who, which floor talks to another floor, which office talks to another office, and I think that's really critical. And she said something specifically about that point that reminded me of what a local civic leader, who I'll leave his name out, when I asked him about what does political office look like, or what does that look like to run for political office, and he said, it has to be serendipitous. So cannabis is not going to be serendipitous in this instance, because it's not necessarily what the fourth floor can say. It's not what the Senate or House can agree upon. Working indirectly and directly with the cannabis industry here in town, it's going to implode because their industry cannot agree.
Right.
The manufacturing, the distributing, the retail sellers, the number one producer to the number 2, 3, and 4 producer not agreeing with each other. I don't think that it can't get passed because of the governor or the legislators. I think it just can't get passed because they just can't agree as an industry.
Well, she did say, I don't think it's going to pass. I mean, in so many words, she said that.
She said it's going to be a tough path.
What was
Well,
that
that
quote?
was the second.
It has a tough path, right?
She said a
that
tough
was-
path.
When she was challenged a bit, she did say that.
But it's not her pathway. It's not the government's pathway. It's
no.
it's
I think the
industry's
question
pathway.
is this: if you in a short session, and it's supposed to be about the budget, and you know something isn't going to pass, do you bring it up? I happen to think yes, because I think people need to go on record. If they don't pass something, particularly or overturning the abortion restriction we have,
Right.
but other things too. They need to be on record. And when she says bipartisan, the implication there is always, well, the Democrats are for it and the Republicans are not. And if you look at the vote count, that's just not true some of the time.
Interesting. Let's bring up crime. She brought up crime, Tom. She's got 5 bills and a lot of interesting stuff related to crime. A pretty tough stance. She made a point with Matt a couple of times that certain people are going to jail. That jail word was out there quite a bit. And that's a little bit different for her. I've not heard her speak in those terms necessarily. What was your sense of her approach on crime?
I sensed a lot of frustration.
Okay.
There are a couple of bills that address crime, more than a couple. I mean, the 200 pre-files, and
Right.
there's probably at least a third of them are crime-related. But I like the overall approach of what she was talking about. I thought that the extreme risk protection order, which will end up being carried by Senator Cervantes on Senate Bill 5.
Right.
A lot of folks are worried about that because they're concerned that it will restrict rights. Well, I think what will happen is that we'll see the same thing happen with that particular bill that we saw with the background check bill, that it will be amended throughout the process. So what's in that particular case, what's actually entered in the Senate will eventually change into something else by the time it gets to the House.
I want to comment on that bill.
Yeah.
So I'm the president of the board for the Domestic Violence Resource Center, and for the news that you hear in Christmas break of families, dying because somebody pulls a gun, it's a murder-suicide. I'm all for it. I'm super glad that she put that as a priority because the domestic violence community is going to greatly benefit from this bill, without a doubt. The advocates.
Yep. Surge, the idea of increased penalties for, we've got racketeering laws, mass violence she's looking at, operating a vehicle chop shop. There's a lot of things in here about crime, which is great. I mean, everybody in our state wants to lessen crime.
We're all against crime.
We're all against crime. How much can one do in 30 days, as a priority? It's a difficulty, it seems.
I think it's a big challenge, and the governor has talked about data-driven policy and whatnot, and the ability to have those conversations, thoughtful, policy-based, data-based. It's a huge challenge, and so I think the ability to say we're having a massive chop shop problem. This is the first time hearing about this as a social issue.
Right.
It very well could be the case. I'm just not up on that. I don't know how many folks know the data on that. I mean, I think the governor she talked about the pretrial detention
Yes.
quite a bit, and I think she slightly mischaracterized the law. She said that if you're a repeat offender, we're going to keep you, right? The rule is, the idea is if you're a flight risk and or if you are going to be a danger to society, and repeat offender often just means you're poor and are in the sights of the police.
Martha, did she address Matt's question about the defense side of the issue? And Matt made a pretty clear point, it seemed to me, about the underfunding of the defense side of this situation. Do you know what I mean? Did you hear enough there from her?
I'm sorry to say, Gene, I did not.
Okay.
I thought that she sort of danced around that particular point because, as you say, we have underfunding, all right. There are priorities. She sort of said that,
right.
but she was not specific enough in my view.
Let's go to climate change. We got about 5 minutes left here. Tom, I'll start with you on this one. I loved Matt's question about how do we pivot for something right now versus the longitudinal stuff that she and he were talking about 6, 8, 10 years down the road, which is fine. We all want that, a vision. But there's got to be some action on climate stuff right now. Did you hear an answer on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I heard a lot of things, and having doing a lot of work in the renewable energy industry, a lot of these continuing themes really resonated. As far as continuing the ETA by providing certain incentives for transmission lines. Also, the solar solar tax credits was discussed as well. The other thing that is really interesting is that I think you'll see Senate Bill 2. And specifically Senator Woods, a Republican, carry that bill with respect to the solar aspect. And what I think is really important here is that we're seeing that bipartisanship start to take shape in the Senate, which I think is going to be key, especially for with all 112 seats up for re-election. I think you're not going to be seeing a lot of doubling down on the controversial issues. I think you're going to see more of a kumbaya over the issues that a lot of folks can get together on.
Absolutely, Serge. The point. I loved Matt's divining Laura Paskus during that interview about water. That was actually really cool. But it's a big issue, and the governor was very strong on that. But did you hear anything that you thought should have been said about water that she didn't? Or, she made a big point about using brackish water. And I think her line was, we've got a credible brackish water reserves. That might be news to some folks out there.
Yeah, I can't speak to the truth or soundness of that assertion, but I think it's true. Her comments about, are we using fresh water for oil and gas when we could be
that
using
was
it for the
very
rest of the
important,
state, right?
I think.
It's refreshing and important that not be a tail that wags this whole dog.
Good point there.
May I just address Tom for a minute? Did you think that the discussion about we're swimming in oil and gas revenue, mainly oil, and how are we going to replace all that with renewable, did you think it was an adequate plan or answer on that one?
I did not. Because when you have, this is one of the things that Speaker Egoff was talking about in advance of the session, that this is the stuff that keeps him up at night, is you have so much of a focus on climate change and the ETA being so landmark that there's really not much of being addressed as far as how do we wean ourselves off of that oil and gas, kind of stuff. And I didn't hear that.
And still keep money coming in, keep the bills being paid, all that kind of thing. Krista, you want to touch on that too? That the environment stuff. It was.
Yeah. So the only thing I think of is just like seeing what happens, behind the scenes in the legislature, or even in front of the scenes, is that I think it's always a great intent to put a tax credit on, like the solar tax credit with Senate Bill 29 from Senator Stewart. And the electric vehicle tax credit, it's good that they're making the effort to do that. I'm sure it's going to get a message. But one of the things that always happens, is the tax credits get stuck in committees and never make it out onto the floor. And I don't know if people have actually spent a week over at the legislature. I unfortunately have. And, the first week is just nothing is really truly getting done, with printing bills and just the memorandums and blah, blah, blah. And that I just don't think that I know that it's a policy. I applaud her for putting it on the call. But the two tax credits specifically for solar and electric, I think they're great. But I'm very doubtful that they're going to be at her desk at the end of the 30 days.
That's a good point there. And just one segment, a long one for our line panel this week. But you can catch more of their thoughts online by going to our New Mexico in Focus Facebook page.